For this special bonus episode of Why Not Both, we got to chat with the wonderful women of Red Riot all the way from Reykjavik. I hope that you enjoy. Well, welcome to Why Not Both.
Thank you.
Oh, so how would you like me to introduce you to? I should have asked before I hit record, but I'm like, haha, surprise question.
I think, we are quite a new band or a project called Red Riot, but as well, we are both musicians on our own. So yeah, we're musicians, producers, all around cool girls.
I love that.
Yeah.
So please tell me about each of your individual projects. I was like, I'm so curious because I know that both of you do like a gazillion things.
Yeah.
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So my name is Hildur, and that is also the name of my solo project. And that is kind of like upbeat, happy pop, or has been, but now like I'm working on my new album, which is quite not happy, but that's how life is, And I used to be in a band called Red before that, which was like a quite dramatic indie atmospheric band. And then I'm also just working as a songwriter for different people and the producer as well. So we are in my studio right now in Grande in Reykjavik. So yeah, and I don't know, I just kind of like do a lot of different music things. And recently we started Red Riot because of COVID and we had time, and me and Ragna have been friends for a long time. So we wanted to do like some kind of music that was happy and fun. And now to you.
My name is Ragna. I've been in the music game for a long time. I was in the first Icelandic hip hop band called Subterranean. I think definitely yes. I was the first Icelandic female rapper in way back. And after that, I went to New York and I studied audio recording. And I came back to Iceland and have been working as an audio engineer, or preferably sound engineer. No, sorry, preferably sound designer for 17 years now. And so in between projects, like movies or TV series, I do music, or I try to do them together. It's hard to do them together. It's intense, but I drop in and out sometimes. And yeah, I have, 2 solo albums, and wanted to do something like a bit more upbeat than, because I'm a rapper, and like me and Hildur just decided to do something really like bass heavy and dance driven vibe type of music. And that's why we connected, and just out of the need of wanting to hit the clubs and dance.
Yes.
That's how Red Riot got made,
Mm-hmm. I think you forgot to say that your solo project is called Cell 7.
Yeah. Yes. That's tiny detail. Tiny detail. My artist name, Cell 7. Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm so excited that I get to talk to female engineers and producers, because I was talking to a friend of mine where he asked me, he's like, well, why didn't you know for so long that you were a producer? Like, that's what you were doing. You were producing music. And I was like, well, it's because I didn't have that many examples of female engineers or producers. So I didn't realize that that's actually what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of girls feel the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm just like, yes, we have 2 of you in the same room.
Rare, I would have to say.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But, and yeah, that's also like a big thing for our project, is that it kind of like one part of the reason it started was because we were annoyed working with other producers that happened to be all, guys, and they were just like not delivering or delivering very late. And we were just thinking, why are we always working with these men that continue to this, like, we are always like kind of annoyed at them, and like, why don't we just do it ourselves? Because both of us had been producing for a long time, but never kind of took the actual step of just saying, hey, we're producers, And at least for me, I kind of always was hesitant of using the word because I felt like, even though I had been kind of co-producing all of my stuff and like writing it and like working in Logic for 10 years or something, I just kind of felt like I couldn't call myself producer because there was no song like online that I had produced in its like whole entirety. So, but then I was like, all these young producers that do one track beat and put them on SoundCloud and they're like, hey, yeah, I'm a producer. And I was like, why can't I just use the word as well,
Exactly. And yeah, what you just described was such a relatable experience of like, same thing, but in Ableton for me, where I'm just like, if I've been using this whole time and making these songs, I think we sometimes put the expectation on ourselves that it's like, if you haven't made every single sound on it and mixed every single bit, then it's like, oh, then I'm not the producer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then you're like, wait a second.
I feel like kind of our expectations are more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
for some reason.
Yeah, I think people like as soon as they know that a female producer did the song, they kind of start listening to the production even more.
Yeah.
Or I feel like that when we tell people that like we produce our stuff, they're like, wait. And sometimes like we've told them before, and then they listen. And they're like, wait, who produced it? And then they're like, they need reassurance because they're like, wait, could you actually produce that?
Yeah. They do.
Yep. And I'd imagine it's similar when you're doing sound design as well. Like that it's like, so who made the sounds? And you're like, me. And they're like, so who really made the sounds? And you're like, it was me.
Yeah, I mean, like I have people coming in all the time looking over my shoulders, watching me work and go like, uh-huh. So I can clearly see that you do know how to work Pro Tools. Whatever. I'm like, really? I got 17 years on you. And you're like doubting my ability.
Yep.
Like, how dare you? It's like,
yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like when you said that you went to New York to study like sound engineering and then came back, and like when you told me how many years experience you had, I was impressed. I was just like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'd love to see it. And like, I can totally imagine on the flip side, then people seeing you work might be like, is that real? Is she really doing that? Like,
I mean, a lot of my friends, especially in music, they don't know that I'm a sound engineer.
yeah.
That I'm a sound designer. So they go like, how did you get that project? And it's never about getting the project. It's working your way up there. And they haven't seen that part of me. They have only seen me as a rapper, as a, an artist, and never that part of me that just like grinds 9 to 5,
Well, and that's how do you, like when you said that you do kind of like music in between those, but trying to do that simultaneously would be really intense. It's like, how do you find that you
and all weekends and I have 2 kids and it's just crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like my brain just went, how do you manage those things? Like that's just even the time management.
I think without music and without the creativity, I would just like die inside, just like I know sound design is a certain creative, process, but it's not the same as just like making something out of nothing, like completely with music and stuff, like making something out of a vibe or feeling or some experience, You need to just like get your life into a certain form of, communication. I guess.
Yes, because also in a way, like when you're doing sound for other people, it's almost like I was talking to someone who was scoring films, and it's like on one hand you get to like facilitate someone's vision, and you get to kind of craft things for someone, and that's very fulfilling. But then, like you said, like when you're turning a vibe into a song, that's literally you're conjuring something from nowhere, and that fulfills a very different part of you.
Yeah, very different. Because there's always going to be a client when it comes to sound design and the movies and TV series. There's always going to be a client who wants a certain way. But with music, it's our own way.
Yeah.
It's, our own world.
I love that. Was this the first time that the two of you got to collaborate like that, really?
Well, kind of officially, yeah. Well, we went to this project together in Sierra Leone. We went there for songwriting with people from Sierra Leone and from England and Iceland. And one of the session we were in together, and it was quite funny actually because each session was supposed to have like a producer and a writer, and they forgot to put a producer in that session, and we were like, well, I can produce a little bit, and you were like, yeah, I can do as well, and then we just ended up producing the song, which was really fun, and it was not anything related to Red Riot, but then we kind of just like managed to do it in a day, and so that was the first time. But I have actually been singing with Ragna on like her Cell 7 gigs for a lot of years. I think we got to know each other 2015, so I've been singing with her like occasionally since then. So we had mostly been collaborating just live until Red Riot started last year.
Also, I love that they were like, oh, who's a producer? And you casually both were like, oh, I kind of, sort of. I'm like, and the two of you are like total bosses at this.
It was a fun experience.
That sounds amazing. Like, what happens? Because I think that people are mystified by writing camps and things like that, where it's like when you get together to write songs like that, like what does it usually look like? And what was that experience like, especially now that we haven't been able to travel that much? People have been collaborating long distance. Like, I guess, can you explain to people like what that kind of writing situation is like and what it was like under these circumstances?
It was quite a crazy week we had. I have been to quite a lot of these because I have been writing for other people for some years, but I know this was...
It was intense. It was my first.
Yeah, Ragna's first.
And it was just like, I didn't even know if I could collaborate that fast with anyone. I hadn't had any experience, but so, into the deep end, I went. I mean, Hildur's there, so, I wasn't quite alone, like, in my experiences, so I had someone to share it with. But it's so nice to have somebody alongside with you who has the experience and you can lean on and trust that, she just, like, whereas you put in, like, in our group, our first group, there was, like, 3 singers and me, a rapper, just, like, there's nobody to guide, like, let's go like this. And then she took control, and that was so nice, because, like, without experience and also the planners of that particular music camp, they didn't quite know how to put a group together to begin with. So that was kind of like issue to begin with. But you've been into so many ones that have been smooth, right?
So it's kind of like it's a process where you, like, because most of the time you don't know the people in the room, and the first hour or two just goes into kind of just like getting to know each other and what they're about and see if you have anything in common or not, and then trying to figure out what kind of song you want to make, because in these camps the idea is that you make 1 song per day, and it can be stressful and it can go smoothly and it can not. So and in this camp in particular, it was so interesting because the musicians from Sierra Leone, they had such a different background, like, understandably. A lot of them had never, like, worked with computers. They had never, like, actually recorded into a microphone. And that was actually one of the things that happened in our session. One of the singers, he couldn't sing.
He only had 1 volume.
Yeah.
Like, he just, like,
and it was loud.
So loud.
Wow. It was so loud.
You could not contain him.
No, and the thing is, like, it's so interesting because there's a cultural reason behind it, because they are used to, when they're performing live, a lot of the time there are no microphones. So they're performing with a band, and the singer has louder than the band. So he had this crazy, like, strong voice. And then when we were, like, recording him, he would be like, like, yelling, like, this. It would always, like, be way too much. And we were like, no, we have to stand way more back. And we were, like, turning the gain down and everything. It was just so interesting. So in this camp, there was a lot of, like, these kind of interesting stories. So, and also one thing that I thought was really interesting is that they never wanted, like, the musicians from there, they never wanted to make sad songs, because or at least I am such a dramatic person that, like, half or like 90% of my ideas are very dramatic, and whenever I would bring a melody, like, for example, one of the producers from Sierra Leone, he would, like, turn that into some kind of a crazy dance song, and I was like, wait, don't you hear the melody and the lyrics? It's supposed to be a sad song. And he was like, yeah, sad dance song.
He's like, well, I don't see the problem here.
And also because we realized people there, they dance so much when they hear music. Like, as soon as music starts, everyone is moving. And we, the stiff Icelandic people, we're like, haha, oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, okay. So that was also like a huge cultural difference, which was really interesting to see.
Oh my gosh, I would have never thought of that. And I love the idea of like, since you have no microphones, you obviously have to amplify yourself. And I was like, wow, the projection powers that person must have.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
and even when you said like seeing what you have in common and maybe like what's different, it seems like in some ways, like the difference isn't necessarily friction. It sounds like sometimes the difference actually brings out ideas that you wouldn't have had before.
Yeah, I think most of the time it does. It works like that because, or at least as I look at it, like this song would never have been born if there weren't like this exact, amount of people and these exact personalities in the same room. So I think it's like really interesting twist that it's always a different song based on the group and like yeah. So I think I would never have written those kind of songs in my home.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I was like, Ragna, that's so brave that you were just like, all right, here we go.
Very brave.
Oh my gosh. Because, yeah, dealing with that many, I'm trying to imagine like dealing with that many different creative minds in one room and being like, okay, at the end, you have to come out with a song. Like,
That's why kind of like you need to have at least one producer that runs the train,
yes.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh. No wonder. Otherwise, you'd end up all kind of like, I don't know, throwing stuff at the wall, essentially. Like, oh my gosh. So after those songs are finished, what's the journey of those songs? Are they usually pitched to other people? Like, what happens to them after?
In these songwriting camps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the camp. Like, for this particular camp, we were making an album that was supposed to be released because this was this very interesting project of pulling these like different kind of cultural sides of the world together.
Mhm.
All of these songs were actually released on Spotify, but a lot of the times in these camps you are writing for like an artist which is in the room, or you are writing for pitch. But I rarely write just for pitch because I always appreciate it more when there's like an artist in the room that I'm writing for, or
Yeah.
doing this like collaboration or something like that.
That makes sense. Because, yeah, otherwise it seems like, especially if you have, people in a room who have never met, unless you have like an objective, I'd imagine that could get, I'm trying to think of the right word for it. It's like you wouldn't have like when you're writing a song, you want to feel compelled to write something. So unless there's like kind of a thing of, oh, I'm writing it for this person or this emotion or something like that, if it's just like you're writing a song just to write a song, sometimes you're like, shrug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is it like when you are writing for another artist? Like, do you talk to them about kind of, what emotion they want to convey? Like, how do you kind of have the spark for that when you're writing for someone else?
I kind of treat it as, doing an interview with them. Like in the start, I always ask them like what they've been, going through lately in their lives, or what they've been dealing with, or if there's anything that they think could be turned into a song, because then it's more personal for them. And I think it's also really inspiring to write about experiences that other people have had, because like you always find some similarities in it, and it sparks something in you that you've had like that is similar. So a lot of the time it's like that, but also a lot of the time it's just like there's a conversation in the start where you're getting to know everyone, and somebody just says something and you're like, oh, that could be a cool concept of a song, like just the way you said that. Or I've even been in a session where somebody misheard something and we were like, did you say that? And they were like, no. And they were like, well, that's a great concept, let's do that. So it varies, but I always try to make it personal.
Gotcha. That's funny that you said about the mishearings. Sometimes those are the best moments when either someone misinterprets something or there's this like moment where, because you're thinking then outside of like a logical train of thought.
Exactly. And I think also when you're producing, when you do something by accident, like a lot of times that can be really cool as well.
Yep.
So be open for that.
Happy accidents. I love that. Ragna, when you're writing then mainly your own stuff. And if you were one of the first people that was doing what you were doing in Iceland, like, are there more people doing what you're doing now? Or are you, I guess, like, what's that scene like?
I mean, like the scene is mostly Icelandic rap now,
Mhm.
mostly. It's like a kind of a genre within its own, I think. So, and plus, I think like my music isn't, it doesn't sound like anything else that's out there. I think
Mhm.
like I tend to go my own way when it's like that. Just like, I don't know. I listen to music a lot from the US. So I think where I pull from inspiration is very different for what's going on in Iceland right now, especially in the rap scene.
Mm-hmm. I guess, like, how would you describe what's going on now in the rap scene there, and how does that contrast with what you usually do?
Ooh.
It's, it's a lot of auto-tune trap, kind of like mumble rap thing.
Ah,
They're going a lot into also like dance type of way, right? Don't you feel like they're also going into like
a lot of it
dance
is
music?
quite poppy in a
Poppy,
way,
yeah,
and a lot of the I'm probably gonna get hate for saying this, but a lot of the Icelandic rappers aren't good rappers. They're just like good with using effects and stuff. But Ragna is actually a really good rapper, so I think that is also a difference.
I don't necessarily think that they even listen to rap.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming from a totally different place. So, you know.
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, that's where they're coming from. Yeah. They're kind of like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to whenever and go wherever place. See, there's no like specific, focus, I feel. And they're all over the place.
And I feel like they've probably never listened to like old school hip hop
No,
or
not at
anything
all.
like that.
Not at all.
Right.
Not necessarily. No.
Mm-hmm. And also it's in Icelandic, which is like, and yeah, you're always in English, and just that is like a huge difference because like Icelandic language is, I don't know, it's hard in a way to write in that style. So they're kind of like mixing English a lot into it. So it's like a lot of slang.
A lot of slang.
Yeah.
English slang.
But I don't know. Yeah.
That was actually a curiosity I had, because English is such a percussive language and Icelandic is not. And so I was like thinking about how you would even rap in Icelandic, because like the way that the syllables are stressed in English, like it kind of lends itself to that. And then like I was trying to hear it in Icelandic in my head, and my brain just went,
maybe that's one of the reasons why
you need to be so good to pull it off.
Yeah.
There's just a handful of people that can.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been doing that for a long time now.
Yeah.
So.
That's, because I do not speak Icelandic. I know how to say thank you. I've been attempting to learn from voice notes that one of my friends has been sending me, so that I can, when I come back, I can say more than thank you.
Trying it's way too hard. I would just like, I always feel horrible for the people that try to learn Icelandic. So, I'm sorry if I'm like, crushing your dream, but it takes a lot of effort to kind of learn that well,
Yeah, like there are different sounds in it than there are. I mean, in every language there's like the different phonemes, but like there's certain sounds that I like. For instance, it looks like, and I don't know the name of the letter, it looks like a D but with like a little cross through the top of the stem. And the sound of it is between an English D and a TH, but it's like right in between. Yeah. It's like neither. Yeah. And so like learning things like that, even I was like, oh, this sounds really different. And like I wanted to learn it on Duolingo during COVID times, because I'm like, what else am I doing? I'll learn a language. So they offer like Elvish on Duolingo. They do not offer Icelandic. And I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah, they
expensive.
Yes.
I was offended on your behalf that I was like, why can I learn several fictional languages, but I cannot learn?
That's crazy.
But also, like, what do I think about that more people want to learn Elvish than Icelandic? How to feel about that?
Yeah, because actually Elvish was based on Icelandic, I think. Like the Lord of the Rings, if you're talking about that language, that was Icelandic, so,
That's why I was just like, guys, we've gone too far. Just rewind.
Oh my God.
Duolingo, step up your game.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, I too want to be harassed by the Duolingo owl, but I like to... Oh, but yeah, because it sounds, I mean, Icelandic sounds beautiful when you sing Icelandic like that, at least to my ears, like it flows so well. And so I can understand why you would take your inspiration for rapping from a percussive language like English. Um, would you say that some of your production style also comes from music from the US in that way as well?
Well, mine does, because I usually, because as a rapper, I really like a lot of it is like beat heavy.
Hmm.
Like I hear, I can't hear my rap unless I hear the beats
Hmm.
in particular. So that's how we work when we work together. My main focus is on the beat and on how I lay the drums, because without them I can't rap. I can't hear the
Hmm.
rap. But then Hildur is mainly like harmony wise and
Yeah,
melodic,
yeah, and the
and
chords and stuff.
so we
Hmm. Hmm.
work pretty well together in that way. We focus on our own thing, and then it comes together, and it's just like a nice song.
Yeah, and we have these two chairs, and it's like, now you do the beat, and then we switch, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, now I do the chords,
We're
and
like,
then
yeah,
we
we're,
switch.
we're tag teaming it the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And do you both work in Logic? Or are you in Pro Tools or what are you up to?
So I've been in Pro Tools for 17 years, and I was like, let me go into another like not work mode.
Hmm.
And I've been in Logic for
Yeah,
for long.
over 10 years, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So I still feel like I'm a child in Logic, whereas I throw Pro Tools in and out, and I'm still like figuring out Logic, even though it's been a year or two, maybe.
Yeah, and we have, it's like we've had all these arguments where Ragna is just like cursing a lot because
Yes.
she hates some of the like Logic like kind of the shortcuts, and she's like,
Yeah.
in Pro Tools you can do that, and she's like always very angry, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do? I
Yeah.
love Logic. Stop
'Cause-
saying that about
Yeah,
Logic.
yeah.
So I'm like,
Because I'm
always
like, I need
defending it.
answers, and he's just like, well, let's just leave this, and I'm like, that's not good enough. You know, I come from a really strict workplace where, you know, everything, you know, people work in teams together and you have to deliver in a certain way. And then you're in a music environment and it's just, oh, whatever you do, just what I was like, do whatever? No, that doesn't work. My brain doesn't understand do whatever. It has really strict, you know, work process and how to deliver everything. And it's not whatever. It's like, you weirdo. Just like, leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah, we argue about like shortcuts or like cursors or stuff like.
I mean, that's,
Yeah, but it's funny. It's like,
it's funny.
yeah.
I feel like that could have been like a meme right there of like Pro Tools versus Logic. Just like,
Yeah.
no, I need the structure. Tell me what to do. And Logic is just like, doop-de-doo.
I have colors for you. Look.
Would you like a bus? I have a lot of those.
I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, like I was joking with my mixer that like DAWs are almost like when you're reading like tea leaves or tarot, where it's like none of them are bad or good. It just like says something about your personality that you're like,
Yes.
oh, which one are you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It does.
exactly.
That is so funny. Cause yeah, like I mean, I get so confused in Pro Tools. Like I've tried so many times to like catch into like how it works, and it's just for whatever reason not intuitive to me. Whereas
Mhm.
like for whatever reason, Ableton is intuitive for my brain, and I don't know why. Like I can totally see why someone else would hop into Ableton and be like, what?
That happened for me. I tried Ableton for a long time, and I was always so annoyed, and I was like, by this time I would have, made 3 songs in Logic. Why am I even, wasting time on this? So I just dropped it. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because especially when you're working in another DAW, like on one hand, you can get super frustrated. On the other hand, I notice if I'm working particularly in Logic, the happy accident thing happens often in Logic for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, where like I'm not as adept at as I am in Ableton, and then like Pro Tools, I just sort of look at it wide-eyed, like, oh no.
This makes no sense to me, but other people love it. So
Well, it's incredibly powerful for sound design. That's the thing that I find fascinating about Pro Tools is that like the way it's organized, it is in some ways the most powerful. And I almost feel like I'm like, I want to unlock your secrets.
Yeah. I mean, we're working with so many tracks. It's like 100 to 200 tracks and then a video file and everything. So it needs to be able to just like go everything like to move everything at the same time and just be really, really fast. And so I think it's like an industry standard when it comes to like post-production, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially, I mean, when you're running stuff like that, I think that also you can do production, for instance, if you're at, a writing camp, I would imagine you can do some of the production just like on a laptop, in which case you can use like Ableton or Logic, but trying to run Pro Tools off a laptop is like, yeah.
Well, I do. It's fine. You just need to have the maxed out laptop. That's
Yeah.
all.
The super expensive one.
Yeah.
Very powerful laptop. Yeah. So that way your fan doesn't go crazy when you just even open a session.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's always the worst when like you open a session and your computer's like, I'm lifting off into space. And you're like, no, come back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. So during this time, the two of you finally got to collaborate. And I was like, are other people also collaborating with you during COVID as we're all kind of like, kind of in the same space and we can't go many places? Like, are people still coming into the studio to work with you, or are you doing more remote collaborations?
We've had people in the studio, yeah, but then we've also done remote collaborations. We did one song with a guy called David 44 that lives in Denmark, Copenhagen, and we never met him. We just did it over the internet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was nice. But Iceland has, like, for the most part been, in a better situation than a lot of the other places during COVID. So it has been like, it's been okay to come to the studio, which has, saved my mental health.
Yeah.
If I would have, been trying to make this music all at home, I'm pretty sure I've made half of it, so I guess we're lucky in that way.
Yeah.
But as of right now, actually, we're going into the fourth wave of COVID in Iceland or something. There has been a huge backlash, and now there's like a lot of people getting COVID all of a sudden, and we all thought it was over. So we are kind of like a little bit pessimistic right now.
Yeah.
Understandable. I'm sorry that you're experiencing the resurgence. You guys probably experienced like another wave of it because like all of a sudden you opened up to people from other countries to come, and like frankly, like other countries have been wildly irresponsible. And so I was like, oh no.
And also like the nightlife. They just opened the nightlife, the bars and the clubs until like 4 or 5 a.m. They went all like, okay, let's just go.
Oh, they went all summer.
It's been like this for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, I think it started like early middle of June. Then it opened up, and we went out the second night after it opened, and it was so funny because like before that it was only open till 11, and then they started opening till 4, and both of us, we were like at like 11:30, we were like, are we gonna really do this? And we were like, either we need to get super drunk or just go home because this is way too much work, because we like went out quite early as we had been doing, before, and it was like, it was weird.
And like it was mayhem. It was mayhem.
Yes.
Like people you don't understand. Like
no, actually, like people in Iceland, it used to be like that they wouldn't start dancing until like after midnight or even after 1 o'clock. Like the dance floor would always been empty. But that night the dance floor was packed at 11.
Oh my god.
And there was this moment that was so funny. Like a guy was like, can you move? And I was like, what? My friend is gonna do the worm. And it was like 11, and people were crazy, and I was like, that would never have happened before, like
Oh my god. I went out, same as you. I went out like one night to go to like an art gallery opening, and then I ended up going to like the after party with a few friends, and it was like, I have not seen people go this hard in a long time. And I was just kind of watching it, and I was like, wow, like, oh boy. Like
a lot of energy that has been like saved up for a long time. Yeah.
Oh my god. In a way, did that like inform, like you said you were making a dance record, and when I was speaking with, it was who was I talking to? Oh yeah, I was talking to Iconopop, and they were saying that like they wanted to make a record for like if you were having like a dance spa night, where it was like you were taking care of yourself, and yes, you had like a wonderful face mask on, but it was a dance party. And I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
concept.
That's a good concept.
What?
On dance party.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, rave spa? We could pull that off. Was some of that energy what informed you two when you were making this music? Because like we hadn't been able to get all of that energy out for quite a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That was just like
definitely.
basically the whole idea. It was just like we can't go out dancing, we can't go clubbing, and we both just missed the kind of like excitement of performing.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to make music that was like exciting for us, so we could just like blast it in the studio and feel like, you know, the bass was hitting our chest and we would feel like a slap. So
we just had pent up energy that we just needed to get out.
Yeah, so definitely. And then we also had to struggle when we were deciding when to release the first track, because we wanted it to be when people could actually dance to it. But then COVID was going on, and we were like, if we're gonna wait until it's over, then like we don't have a clue when we can release it. So we decided to release our first track in February, and we heard a lot of people were dancing at home to it. So that was the thing, and a lot of people said that it like kind of made them want to go downtown to dance. So we were like, okay, so when that's possible, we're really excited to see how that is, you know.
Yeah, and you gave people, I was like, sounds like you did give people the rave spa experience.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Have a face mask. We don't know.
Have you had a chance to actually perform any of the songs live, or like what's it been like there?
Not much though.
No.
One or two occasions, I guess.
Yeah, we did a TV performance just after our first single, which was quite funny because a true story, like we were announced up on stage, and then at the same time the Icelandic volcano started erupting. So we were like, we started that fire, you know. So it was funny because then we were like, oh shit, now everyone's gonna stop watching and just go and hit the news and be like, what? Because there was like a huge volcanic eruption day, and it has been going on since then. But everyone was
it's still going.
Stole our thunder
a little bit, you know. You can't be mad at a volcano, you know. That's what we say here in Iceland.
The old Icelandic phrase, can't be mad at a volcano.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I would take that as a very auspicious sign, frankly, that even the earth was like, no, I got to party.
Yeah, we should talk about that more.
She was like, I heard the beat. I had to move.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Have you been to the volcano? That the more I saw that people were like actually visiting to like hang out there, I was like, oh my God, I want to go.
Well, I have not, but Ragna has been very busy going there.
I've coincidentally been twice in a helicopter. It's kind of embarrassing, but you know, very coincidentally. But the second time I was actually like fronting the campaign inspired by Iceland, which is like,
it's like a huge YouTube like video campaign, and it's telling people to come to Iceland.
Yeah, it's a weird concept. It's telling people to like turn in their sweatpants, and what they get in return is hiking boots.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You were spotted the other day actually on the street.
The first time a foreigner was like, you are the one in the commercial. I was like, oh yeah, hi.
Food girl.
Yeah, sweatpants food girl. Yeah. So I'm for that now.
What an excellent claim to fame.
They were like, you're performing in front of the volcano.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool to have done, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's pretty awesome. I was like, there is no need to be embarrassed about that. I was like, that's rad.
Yeah, I haven't been like walking like everybody else does, you know. And, like I just
helicopter.
I was like, hey, I'm with the camera crew.
You're like, don't mind me. I'm just like the Beyonce of the house. It's fine.
Not used to it, but you know.
I love that. Well, and also how often does one ever get to be like, well, yeah, so then I got helicoptered to the live volcano and
It's pretty cool.
Exactly.
It's a cool flex.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Whenever anyone questions you in the future, just be like, so, you know.
Well,
I hope that you do get to perform live soon, because when you're saying like when you're in the studio and you can really feel the bass, I think that that's like the difference in a way, like sometimes between like live and studio music, where it's like, unless you have like a studio setup at home, you're not going to be listening to music in the same way as when you're like out dancing or when you're at a show or something like that. Like the music is going to physically feel different.
exactly. And yeah, and it's quite interesting when you're like making music, and when you're performing it live for the first time, you kind of get the feeling, how the audience is reacting to it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for us because we had like this one, just a short gig the other day, and then we were just after that gig, we were like, wait, we need to do more songs like this and less songs like this. So I think that's also because I think for this project we're really heavy on kind of making a great live show and like not just making music for Spotify, but making music that actually like is a party when you come and see us, and like that people want to move to.
Yeah. Like what kind of elements do you put in music that's more for that? Because yeah, people do listen to music in very different contexts. Like there is this like, oh, I just want to stream it while I'm like chilling at home or in my car or whatever. And then there's like, oh, like we're actually live. Like what elements do you add? Like what did you notice people responded to in a live setting?
I think it's just like, a lot of good rhythm and beat is very important. And then also like interesting drops, I would say, and like, coming back in and stuff, and basic melodies that people can kind of relate to.
Yeah. Also faster songs.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So
and like we haven't really been playing in our like optimal environment that we would love to, like, as in AKA in like a dark club with lights and everything. So we always have a vision for our performance, I guess, but we haven't been there yet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting thing because both of us like have our own artist project, and it's so weird to like be experiencing like the birth of a new project in these times, because you're like, wow, when I used to start my solo project, I would play a show so much quicker after like just releasing a song, and I would like kind of be more in the kind of music scene, but now it's like being a lot in the studio, dropping a song, being a lot in the studio, hoping to play, so it's very
that is, it's such a different flow. And even though both of you obviously like enjoy being in the studio, I can tell both of you also enjoy not.
Yeah, we have that in common. We just love being on the stage, so it's like,
and it's like I think as well we have the same drive and the same, just like, what do you call it, just let's go, like we've been in other collaboration where as things have not been going as fast as we would. So like different solo artists coming together with the same type of pace and like vision for this project is just so energizing, I think, for both of us to work with somebody who has the same like drive, I think.
Yeah.
Ambition, definitely.
Ambition, exactly.
Yeah, because otherwise it sounds like you'd either be waiting for someone else or putting energy into kind of like dragging them along, and both of you are like, let's go.
Solo projects.
Like a lot of the time, like if we're working with other producers, a lot of the time it's just like that. You're just waiting, or you're annoyed, or you're getting kind of bailed on with the session or something, and you're like, but it's very nice to have a partner that you can just trust that they're in it all the way and they do what they say they're gonna do and stuff.
I was like, that makes me so happy to hear. Oh, in a way, like the podcast producer, I was just like, that well, obviously, Laura, she hopped into the project kind of early on, and she and I are very similar in that way. However, she also keeps me on a regular schedule, whereas I want to do everything at once or I forget that it's happening. Laura's like, no, you need to do this just like every week consistently. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Have like, yeah, and in that sense, me and Ragnar, we are a lot of like our personalities are alike, and then some are not. So I think that is like a great combination, you know.
Yeah, well, having someone that's really like that shares the same vision as you and is also like that you complement each other well, where it's like, because you don't want to have the exact same skill set as someone that you're working with, because otherwise, you know, then you're like, cool, we have the same strengths. Like, what happens when we need to do something else? Even the way you were describing like putting together tracks, I was just like, I could totally see this. I love this combo.
And it's also comfortable because then you can feel like you are in your element, like, and you are doing the stuff you're good at, and the other stuff that you're not as sure about, the other person is good at that. So it's like it takes a little weight off you, that you can just like focus on what you are good at, and then also learn more about the other stuff from the other person. So
yes. I mean, it kind of goes back to even at the beginning when we were talking about like, if you don't make every single thing and every single sound, you don't consider yourself a producer. But it's like both of you are producers and engineers. It's just learning from the other of like those little specific areas of like, oh, I didn't know how to do that in Logic. Oh, I didn't know how to make something sound like that. Like, yeah.
And it's also really funny. We're always sending each other like YouTube videos or something. Like, I found a better way to do this, and like I'm really excited to send the other like a YouTube video of that. And I'm like, we're such nerds, but you know, it's fun because you know
it benefits us.
Yeah, and sometimes we just drink red wine and watch production videos.
Yeah.
That is like living the dream.
I recommend it. Yeah. Try to remember as well what you see.
Yeah, you're thinking
Oh my gosh, whenever I'm looking at production videos, I usually will watch on like my iPad or phone, and then I'll do the thing on my computer, like whatever it is, in hopes that way by doing it, I'll remember what I watched.
Yeah, that's a good way. And red wine, but
I was like, you could throw red wine in the mix. We won't exclude red wine. Oh my gosh. Because otherwise, have you had this experience where you watch a production video and you're like, oh my God, I totally get how that worked. Oh my God, how amazing. And then you open your DAW and you're like, I have no idea what I just saw.
Yeah. It's so easy. And then you're like, wait, and you just didn't catch this one detail or something.
Yeah. No. Yep. And it just vanished from your brain and you're like, cool. Okay, we're going to watch that again.
And you have to kind of put it in use a few times so it gets stuck. Yeah. Because if you just do it once, you just like forget about it.
Exactly. Well, what are you two planning on doing, I guess, for now? It is summertime. I was just like, are you going to be in the studio? I was like, sounds like things are open, but I don't know how long they're open. I was like, are you going to play a show? Like, I guess what's next for you both?
Yeah, well, we are trying to finish our album. We are making a full-length album. So
Yay!
Yeah, so that's fun. And we're planning to go to this cabin a little bit outside of Reykjavik, because we've done that before, and it works really well to like have a little less distraction and just like making dance music in a cabin.
In a summer house.
In a summer house, yeah.
I love this.
So that's like, yeah, we're doing that. And we, of course, want to play shows, and we have a few kind of lined up if everything goes well. So let's see.
But our main focus is just finishing the album, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to go to a cabin and make dance music. That sounds amazing.
And then you take a break and go to the hot tub. Yeah. And then you come back and work more. It's really fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, one of my friends just made a cabin up in like the woods outside of LA. And he was just like, okay, I know that this is a total like Bon Iver move, but like really everyone should make a record in a cabin.
Exactly. You know, that is one of my favorite albums, and that was made, but he was alone in a cabin for 3 months. I couldn't do that.
For 3 months? That's intense.
It's intense. But the album is so good because he probably lost his mind like 10 times during that period. So yeah.
that is like, it's a fine balance, like when you're, especially when you're in the midst of writing, where it's like you kind of want to lose your mind like a little bit, like you want to lose a little bit of that like part of you that's a bit of everyday life, but you don't want to lose it like so much that when you come back around, you're like, what on earth was I writing?
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
Just lose enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. It's
Oh
nice
my
to talk to someone outside of Iceland.
Yeah.
Like,